And so we try to eliminate everything, and the universe is saying, no, you're expanding. And I feel right now, and this is my perspective on it, that there's a major expansion going on, this major transition that every human being is going through, and we're all responding slightly different, and we're feeling it. Everything from COVID and all these outward things are happening, but there's something happening deep in the ocean what's creating this wave. What creates the wave? Well, a deep body water coming to a shallow body water. It's called a shelf. But you won't know it until you go deep down and see it. Like, oh my God. So what people think the causation is a surface, that is not the causation. That's the reactive. That is the result of what's going down below. So once we transcend and go down and transcend above and below everything, we'll start to understand why the causations are happening to some more degree. But how deep can we go? It's endless. And that's the beauty of it. I know more about the understanding of things, but I still know very little, so I can say I know nothing. I just stole that from Socrates, by the way.
Yeah, hell yeah. That is a good quote.
He's rolling over in his grave. He's like, God damn it!
Copyright!
Son of a bitch! Yeah, I'm going to sue! Yeah.
He'll be getting a cease and desist for that.
From Socrates.
Hell yeah. That would happen. This is great.
I got a letter from Socrates. He called me a moron.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's when you're looking at all these concepts, it is very exciting because you start to see how much power you truly have.
And I encourage people, without telling they have to do it, I encourage people to, when something happens in the outside world, perceive it as best you can in the preferential direction in which you want to see it. If you're having a shitty day, that's okay. But the way to get out of a shitty day is energy. So a shitty day is a negative energy field, in which we call negative energy, or low energy field. The thing about energy, you can't destroy it, but what you can do is you could transform it. So I could take a bad energy field and transform it into a good energy field. Now, there is this, ability of induction. And induction, like to go from hot to cold in the way we see the molecules working, it doesn't happen quickly. So if I'm going from hot, how long does it take me to cool something down? But knowing that once I turn the heat down, so to speak, the cooling naturally occurs. I don't have to do anything other than knowing it's happening, and it will happen. So I'm not asking people to make the U-turn and expect this to happen quickly. Just like a red-hot poker isn't going to turn into ice-cold piece of metal before it's touchable. But once you take it out of the fire, it will slowly come down to room temperature.
I like how you're saying
it will start
that.
to move in that direction. But I had to take it out of the fire in order to do that. So just take your mind off of this life sucks. And it's like, it's not too bad. It's not too bad is taking the hot poker out of the fire, and then the cooling process starts to happen. This is something that's a natural occurrence. And that's what I'm saying. Don't expect that to pull it out of fire and to be touchable by the hand, in which we understand the frequency in which the hand can touch without feeling immense pain.
I recently heard someone say that there is no such thing. There is no such thing as cold. There is just an absence of heat.
Yeah.
And so when I heard this, it was beautiful. Like what popped into my head was, I was like, well, that's the same thing as love.
Like,
hate.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as hate. There's only an absence of love.
Yeah.
What is hate? And then when you sit there and you think about it, you can give examples of what you perceive as hate, but there's no such thing as hate.
Yeah, and when you're in absence of the essence of what life is, and that's the energy field, you're going to fall into these places. So, when you're in the absence of the energy field in which we're in, which we're the one conceptually closing ourselves off, you become less efficient. You become almost non-efficient. And when you're actually moving away from efficiency, that's where the attitudes that we projected, personas we project as anger, hatred, all these things. But when you find yourself in the field of pathless resistance, of moving towards something in this fluid way, the natural occurrence of that is love, compassion, kindness. You don't have to teach these things.
It's
You
your
just have to
natural
learn the
state.
physics of the world. When you learn the physics of the world, and when you get into the energy field, like there's no such thing as darkness, just the absence of light. Because even in the darkest place, like we all know this, I could go into a really dark room and close the door, and once I turn the lights out, everything's pitch black. But give me a couple of seconds, I could start to see my hand. I really can.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, it was pitch black because I'm used to the brightness, and what it is the frequency I'm used to picking up. When the light was on, when I turned it out, all of a sudden, like, oh, it was dark, and all of a sudden now I notice this little bit of light coming in from the window. I didn't notice that before. There's always light, but there is a amount of light that human frequency is meant to be living in. So if I'm trying to read a book, I need a lamp on to something because that's the way I'm constructed.
Let's take that a step further, too. I like your light analogy. So you're in a dark room, and you're shining a light onto an object, right? It's illuminating that object. There's other objects within this room, but you can't see them because you're illuminating only one object.
And that's called focus.
Exactly. So what Frank and I are discussing, this holographic world, this idea, this imprint of ideas and thoughts, is our focus. If we're focused on a certain outcome or focused on a direction, a feeling, that's all we're going to see. Mm-hmm. So all the other options, so you're sitting there and you're saying, oh, this only happens to me. You know, I'm never going to get the success I want. I'm never going to get the love I deserve. You're only focused on this one object, right? Well, here's love. Here's success. Here's that big house you wanted. Here's all this. But because you're so focused, that light's only shining on this upset, moment. You're missing out on all this stuff that's sitting in the dark. And it's simply because you just haven't changed the focus.
And the same in the opposite effect. If I'm just focused on the joy of life, I don't notice the negativity of life.
Exactly.
And it exists because we live in a polarized world. And what I mean is polarities. We live in a polarity world. So when the concept of joy, there must be the polarity of what we consider hatred or pain. So the thing is, how do we stay within the field of joy? And it's a directional thing. It's an energy flow thing. Like, if you're on a river and you're trying to swim upstream, that's pain. But what's interesting is if you just pull the paddles in and stop, paddling upstream, the boat will naturally move in the direction in which the stream's going, and you realize the movement is effortless on your part. You just experience the movement, and that is joy. All right. Now, sometimes paddling upstream allows you to experience joy even to a higher level, or some rapids in the water, or however you want to look at it. So there's always going to be some bit of resistance, but there comes a point where the resistance is too great. And what's the polar opposite of that? So there's somewhere in the middle we want to be playing in that balanced field, because we don't want no resistance, but we can't handle too much resistance. Because with actually no resistance, there is no movement. Too much resistance, we collapse, we break apart. But the perfect amount of Goldilocks resistance is just right.
Yep.
And you like it. So, like, people are like, I want to live a non-resistant life. I'm like, well, in a field of energy, you can't.
You'll find resistance. It's how you're going to react.
Yeah, resistance is frequency
respond,
bound.
I should say.
You wouldn't feel anything. Like, what would sex be like without resistance, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We just like, yeah.
But truly.
Karen's like, you had to bring that up tonight, didn't you? Yeah.
That's funny. But it's true. And if you don't have the yin, you can't have the yang. Like, there's a reason these
in this physical world, this is what we're playing with.
That's it.
So when you transcending is you see both poles, and then you find yourself swaying within the middle of it, and you learn to control and find that. So if you get on a wave and you crash, who cares? Because you go back to the neutral aspect of it and you start over again.